लेना बैटरी रखी थी। कौन करेगा व्हाट्सएप पे लिखा तो है। हाँ ठीक है। क्या करना? हाँ जी सर वर्किंग। हाँ जी डन डन।
हो गया रहने करती हम बोल रहे थे
क्या?
कि हमको गाइड करना तो कर लेते।
अच्छा
से जाना तो बगियन में रे भंवरा तीर से जाना तो बगियन में जाना तो बगियन में रे भंवरा तीर से जाना तो बगियन में तीर से जाना बगियन में रे भंवरा तीर से जाना बगियन में तीर से जाना तो बगियन में रे भंवरा तीर से जाना बगियन में
So, we all know I'm not this month. It could never quite anywhere. She had a great voice. She had a great resonance. I think the resonance still remains. And yeah, I mean, this Vasif Bhai is the original propagator for having that on screen because he said, मैं तो गा लूँगा, लेकिन उनकी आवाज़ गूंजनी चाहिए. इंशाल्लाह उनकी आवाज़ गूंजती रहेगी. And we're not going to speak very much, a little bit. And Vasif is going to sing because that's what she wanted. But there's Chotilal ji who has probably lived with her the longest from anybody in this room. So I think he's going to say a few words. And then, all right, come Chotilal. And I think everybody knows Chotilal ji. He needs no introduction. He is the mainstay of her life for the last 30 years. Yeah?
सभी लोगों का नमस्ते। माता जी बहुत अच्छे थे, सभी लोगों को केयर करते थे और अपनी लाइफ बहुत ही अच्छे से व्यतीत किया। अपना हुक्म चलाते रहे और अंतिम दिन तक माता जी जैसे कोई उनको चाहता था अपना हिसाब से चलते रहे, और हमें बहुत ही खुशी हुई कि हम उन सभी को उस सेवा करने का मौका मिला। और माता जी का खुश रहते थे, हमेशा बहुत ही खुश थे। खुशी खुशी उन्होंने अपनी जिंदगी व्यतीत किया और अपनी जिंदगी खाते पीते हंसते गए। भगवान को, उनकी आत्मा को शांति दे। बाबा कहीं भी रहते थे, अपना काम छोड़ के भाग के आते थे और फोन पे हमेशा बात करते रहते थे। और लेखा और हम सब मिलके उनका काफ़ी केयर किया। माता जी जैसा चाहते थे, भगवान उनको अच्छी से अपने पास बुलाया और उनके आत्मा को भगवान शांति दे। थैंक यू सो मच।
Well, as Jasleen, her absence is rather large, as her presence was. We still stay in a house where she's there. So it's really hard to come to grips with her loss. As a child, she used to embarrass me a lot because she's so naughty. And she loves to embarrass people. She loves to see you go beetroot. And I was as much, a target as anybody else. As it went on, she'd break into song that would embarrass me sometimes. She'd pull somebody's leg, she'd be a bit risky. Then I learned to accept it. Then I learned to be proud of it. Now, yeah, she was a mum only to me. She was a mum to a lot of people, and I think she was what I call a rudder. She'd like to be invisible. She was never invisible. And people would, come to her. And if people didn't come to her, she would go to them. So, and in her last few years, she could go out less and less. And it was a company of Eulogy and Lekha and dear friends who would come ones and twos. And Jasleen's table would always be there with her sitting on it on her chair, which is still there. And she would still be there and guide people in whichever way she could. And at the same time, she needed a little help and guidance, and then the people were there for her, which is, all of you. Jasleen Lekha. And the amazing part was, as dementia kind of kicked in, she kind of gave into it. And then in the last week, she said, not going out this way. And she pulled herself together and she laughed. The last time I heard her sing was at the last doctor's. She was at the OPD and she just started singing. Quite amazing. And the last few days she pulled her leg, she laughed, and she went away laughing. She went to bed, and that was it. That was her last sleep. So I'll say no more, because really, there's so much to say. And also you all know her so well. Maybe some of you didn't know the last part. That's about all I can add to what you know. Maybe you can fill me in on a lot about her. Yeah. And we have just a piece that Kavita has written. And she was to be here to speak, but she can't be here. So Savina's accepted to speak for her. And the funny part is that Samina and Justine go back a long way, and it is this very hall which is where they first met. And Samina was reading Kublai Khan, and Mom was in the audience, and she was moved. And as is her inimitable style, she can't not say anything that she feels. So she walked out backstage, and she said to Samina that she'd never ever heard or thought it possible that she could hear something so beautiful as what she did that day with Kublai Khan. So that's, Samina, would you please come up?
as Himan said, this lovely piece has been written by Kavita. And it's a pity she is not going to be able to read it. But let's see if I can do it some justice. It's always overwhelming to be asked to speak at an occasion like this, when you feel you must come up with words that can do justice to a person's entire life. But to be asked to speak about Jasleen who compressed so many lifetimes worth of living in that one life, being overwhelmed doesn't even begin to describe what I feel. Jasleen was my aunt. I should be able to say I knew her all my life, but I didn't. I was nearly 20 when I started getting to know her as a person. But for years and years before I got to know her in the flesh, she was a fabulous figure in my imagination. She was an idea and an ideal. She opened possibilities in my mind of the kind of life one could have, the kind of woman one could be. But before all of that, before she was a person, before she was an idea, she was a whiff of perfume. It was my grandparents' golden wedding anniversary, and I was a small child sitting in my mother's lap in their crowded drawing room while a religious function was going on. Abruptly, my grandmother got up, left, and came back with a bottle of perfume which she unaccountably began spraying in the air in all directions. "What is she doing?" I asked my mother, and my mother said she's just making the room smell nice. Many, many years later, I learned what was really happening that day. Jasleen, who had been the apple of my grandfather's eye, had disappointed him and his traditional values by marrying outside the Sikh community. After this, my grandfather refused to see her or let her into his house ever again. But my grandmother couldn't live without her and continued to meet her outside. And here, on this special occasion, my grandmother had found her way to make Jasleen present in the room by filling it with Jasleen's perfume, Kabusha, that she had given her. Maybe this story tells you more about Jasleen's mother than it does about Jasleen. It tells you about the tenacity of her love for her daughter and the small and subtle rebellions she was able to mount against the strictures imposed by her husband. I don't think any of Jasleen's rebellions would ever have been subtle or small. She was outspoken and frank and never soft-souled her position. When she chose to follow her heart and marry against her father's wishes, she stepped away from the comforts and the confines of family life. That marriage did not last, but she never stepped back from her resolve to follow her own heart and shape her own life. She was a young 20-something-year-old single working woman in Delhi in the 1950s. I cannot even begin to imagine what kind of inner resources and what courage it took to maintain that independence at that time. As luck would have it, Jasleen had a job already working in the All India Handicrafts Board with Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. Her successes there led her to work with UNESCO and UNDP. And when I was growing up, I would hear of this fabulous person who was my aunt, who had made a dazzling international career through crafts and textiles, who lived in exotic cities like Tehran and Addis Ababa, who wrote books, and whose expertise was sought after by presidents and shahs. I thought of her as this impossibly glamorous person who spent her days devising national policy and her evenings sipping champagne with ministers and diplomats. Then she returned to India and floated into my life with her gorgeous saris and antique necklaces, her wide hazel eyes and her full-throated laugh, her wicked sense of humor and her outspoken frankness. I could hardly believe such a person existed. Little did I know about the grit of the working life that lay behind the glamorous lifestyle that my wonder-struck eyes saw. Early in my growing relationship with her, she invited me to accompany her on a village to Patan in Gujarat to see the patola weavers there. The jeep we were in got stuck in a dry riverbed that it had tried to use in the absence of a road, and there were the two of us on a hot summer day, sinking ankle deep in the burning sand, trying to push the vehicle out of its rut. And Jasleen turned to me and laughed and said, "Most of my working life has been just like this." It's then that I started to see the many dimensions of her life. As a pioneer in the 1950s, working for the All India Handicrafts Board with Kamla Devi Chattopadhyay, she had lurched along pitted bullock cart tracks, a wet towel wrapped around her head to save herself from the summer's unrelenting heat, going without a cooked meal for days at a time, eating only handfuls of bhujia bought at railway platforms as she traveled from town to town, village to village, pursuing the information or the rumor that a weaver, a dyer, or a painter, or more often somebody who had been or whose parents or one parent had been a weaver, a dyer, a painter, lived there. What she found was sometimes heartbreaking. She once told me about the piles of timber lying discarded in a courtyard, which turned out to be the dismembered loom of a weaver's family that had given up on its craft, and about a brilliant kalamkari artist who did not allow his children to learn how to paint, for fear that they would starve to death if they followed their ancestral profession. How to revive those looms, how to give hope to that artist and his children. We see the evidence of the success of the work of Jasleen and others like her all around us in India today. For Jasleen, the Indian success that she helped to forge led her to an international career. First, when the International Labour Organization invited her to Iran to revive crafts there to improve rural livelihoods. Then, when the UN's Economic Commission for Africa put her in charge of a crafts and textiles project that she oversaw in 21 sub-Saharan nations. Later, after the breakup of the Soviet Union, she led UNDP missions in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Kyrgyzstan. In India, she worked with government and non-governmental sectors on textile and craft policy, leading the Handloom Development Group for the 12th Five-Year Plan, for instance. She researched, wrote extensively, and curated some fabulous exhibitions. And she traveled extensively in Southeast Asia, where her love for the region and its crafts was fully reciprocated. In the textile world in Indonesia, she was called Ibu Textile, Mother Textile. Who could not be touched by her huge energy, her zest for life, her curiosity to learn at every stage of life? And everywhere she went, she made an indelible impression. For all her passionate engagement with handicrafts, with artworks, textiles, wonderful furniture, and craft objects that she collected, nothing mattered as much to her as people, who inarguably were the true treasure she amassed. I could just mention to somebody that I was Jasleen's niece, and then sit back and wait for the reaction. It mattered little whether I was speaking to a film producer in Paris, a princess in Kuwait, a weaver in Banaras, or an oncologist in Delhi. Yes, 20 years after she was cured of cancer, when I went to my surgeon, who had been her surgeon, and mentioned her name. Little did I expect that he would get tears in his eyes at the mention of her name. While she was still in treatment, the doctor's mother had passed away, and Jasleen had taken it upon herself to organize the most elegant memorial function for her. Even in cold hospital corridors, I could bask in her reflected light. Everywhere I took her name, I saw awe for her reputation and achievements, and affection for her larger-than-life personality. Above all, gratitude for her acts of generosity, which she seemed to scatter all around her as naturally as blossoms float in the air in spring. Everything she had at her disposal she offered to those she cared about. And she cared about so many people. Whether it was using her extensive contacts to smooth someone's tangle with red tape, whether it was arguing with the government for economic opportunities for weavers, or whether it was a fabulous party she insisted on organizing to celebrate somebody's wedding or landmark birthday. My husband and I used to play a parlor game with her, naming all kinds of places in the world to see if she had been there, which of course she had, and if she had dear friends there, which she almost always did. What place in the world did she not enjoy? North Korea, she said, was not a place she would choose to return to. In Saudi Arabia, she created quite a stir. She was invited to a conference where she was to give the keynote address. When she went to the venue, she found that all the male delegates were seated on the auditorium's main floor, and all the female delegates were in the balcony. Fair enough. As the day progressed, however, she was horrified to see that the men climbed onto the stage to speak from the dais, but the women spoke from their balcony seats, while the male delegates sat stock still below, looking straight ahead at the empty chairs on stage. When it came to Jasleen's turn to speak, she refused to follow this protocol. She would speak from the stage, or she would go home. The organizers had no choice. Jasleen's personality was like a tidal wave. She stood proudly in front of the entire audience and delivered her talk, speaking about textiles, but wove in messages about so many other things at the same time. Above all, emphasizing the common humanity of every person in the room that could not and should not be defined just by gender. And yet, among the many paths she forged for herself as an intellectual, as an author, a mentor, an aesthete, and an advocate for the arts and crafts, it was important for her to be concerned about gender. It played an important role in her work, where she wanted to bring recognition to women's work and creative contributions. She wanted to empower them by boosting their incomes, but she also warned against pushing women into the crafts trap, which could be a way of limiting them to feminine work that could be done within the home, earning a pittance for long hours of labor. In her own life, as she held her own in development circles, she also forged a path by which she could stay in touch with herself as a woman and to not deny herself any of womanhood's pleasures and joys. Motherhood was her greatest joy and fulfillment. Feminine also, perhaps, was the way she took it upon herself to nurture so many of us, whether through advocacy at work or by seating us at her wonderful table, piling our plates with her great food. For all her books on textiles, I wonder if her cookbooks will be the ones that are read for the longest time. She never denied or hid her own sensuality. All these streams came together in her third and last cookbook, A Gourmet's Journey, Discovering the Exotic and Erotic in Food. This was her book that linked food to sensuous pleasure. The sensuousness sometimes coming from a childhood memory of a special treat her mother would slip into her pocket, and sometimes a meal from later years that had been a prelude to a seduction. Let me offer you a little nibble of the latter kind. One day on a flight from Tehran to Geneva, Jasleen finds herself seated next to a sophisticated prince from the royal family of Iran. He plies her with vodka and caviar and arranges to meet her the next day. He whisked me off to a friend's summer cabin tucked away in the mountains. The table was laid with flowers and a centerpiece of fresh fruit. I hope you don't have to go back to work, my dear. We're going to linger over our lunch. The prince has cooked a light soup. He has fried some trout in butter and roasted a leg of lamb. They drink red wine. And then, in Jasleen's words, the heavy meal made me very mellow, and we sat hand in hand sipping freshly brewed coffee with cognac and looking out at the mountain view. You waiting for more? Don't, because the pleasures of one part of the body triumph over the appetites of the other. And this is how she ends her story. It was a tender afternoon of gentle touches for the gourmandizing at lunch, and it was certainly not conducive to much activity afterwards. One could, of course, go on endlessly. There are so many facets of Jasleen that we all know and love. Her zest for life, her celebration of sensuousness, and her capacity to make a joke at her own expense. Jasleen, I know today you are laughing with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavita. I hope you're watching. And thank you, Serena. I think I might just do it, just leaving you guys in. Danielle. Hey, Danielle. Try to say a few words.
After that, it's just a couple of paragraphs.
Please. So Danielle is, most of you probably know Elsie Shalom. Sorry I have to introduce you that way. But Elsie was probably one of Mom's closest friends. And Danielle's come down to be here with us. And Danielle's seen a lot of my mom in India and in Iran, and there might be a perspective that might be interesting. Daniel also known to get into all kinds of trouble, and now apparently he's not like that.
I had just prepared something small. It's more as a letter to Jasleen. Dear Jasleen, my dear old Jasleen, I will miss you. I first met you 59 years ago when I was only 8 years old. You were this funny, a bit scary, exuberant and loudly joking new friend of my mother's. I still remember that to pull your leg, as you used to do to mine quite a lot, I would call you gasoline. And we were still laughing about that right up until our most recent visits. I remember when you had a baby boy, and you put him, still tiny, into my own very young arms, daring me to learn to hold him and play with him. That was Himan. Over those first years, our 5 years in India in the 1960s, you and my mother became very close, sharing both intellectual and aesthetic interests as well as a huge emotional bond, which lasted right up until my mother passed away, not yet 6 years ago. In fact, I'm sure they're up there together right now laughing. Every year she would come to visit you in India, and the two of you would meet in other places on your own travels. And whenever my mother had some difficulty in her life, she would call you to hear your views and to find support. And the same when you needed someone very close to help you through difficult moments. You would call her and talk during those long, hours-long phone calls from one end of the world to the other. I remember when, with my father's assistance, you entered the UN and came to Iran where we were living at the time, and we all found you again. That UN career, which I don't think ever fully satisfied you, it's quite a cumbersome bureaucracy, still carried you on wonderful adventures which left their mark on you, as well as on your marvelous, amazing cooking. First Iran, then Ethiopia. Right up until the last time I saw you, just a bit more than a year ago, your wonderful meals would always include a beautiful dish of Persian rice with just the right perfect crunchy crust over the top. And then there were the textiles, those amazing textiles that you collected and knew everything about. They began to fascinate me from a very young age, so much so that I myself became an avid collector of textiles from all over the world, sought out and purchased on nearly every trip I took on my own UN career. And I still always think of you when I look at that collection that I keep in large glass cabinets in my living room. On every visit to your house, I always discovered new and remarkable textiles and handicrafts that you had in your collection, and learn new things about them and about my own collection. After my mother was gone, the last of my own family of origin, you were for me one of the very last links to that past of mine. Every visit, once or twice every year, seeing you would be a time of stories, of memories, of reminiscing about my parents and my childhood and all those years we had known each other. That is one of the things I will miss most about you, my dear Jasleen. You lived a good, full life, and you went when it was time to go. But for me, you will leave a big void. I miss you, though I am happy that you have passed on to other things. Goodbye, Jasleen, and maybe au revoir until we meet again.
Mom had just one request. We used to go give her that. That's Wasif Bhai was going to sing for her. That's something she asked me 10 years back, and that's probably her last wish, in a way, given 10 years back. She said, मैं ऊपर जाऊंगी, तो मैं ऊपर बैठ के मेरे दोस्तों के साथ आपको सुनूं. Let me fetch him, and he'll tune up a little bit, and then we listen to him. Yeah. And oh yeah. And the Daggers and Mom and Dad go back a very long way. Nizamuddin, neighbors, friends. And I think they go back before Wasif or me, right, actually. So, yeah, so this is a relationship between the Daggers and Mom and Dad. And Mom especially, today. So, let's see, let's get him out so that he can do what he promised to do 10 years back. Just a request. I made sure that Wasif Bhai's phone's off. So I hope everybody else's is off as well. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Wasif Bhai, all yours.
से गाते हैं। What to say? I'll just sing. It's always sad to lose someone who is so energetic and was energizing all of us. And her dynamism is, we've all got, or some of us have also suffered also. So this was the beauty of her, that she was bold enough in any era. Of course, this is a very bold era, what we are talking about, 80s, 90s to after 2000. But she was bold in 60s and 50s, and she was born like that. And she has shared that with each one of us. So, you have heard the recording of my uncle, because she used to come to Ustad Moinuddin Nagar Sahib and Aminuddin Nagar Sahib. So, I'm talking about 50s, late 50s and early 60s. She was learning from them. And my uncle, my Ustad, they are all my Ustad, but the one who has given me my foundation was Ustad Zahiruddin Nagar Sahib. So she used to tease him, and in front of his elder brother, he was so respectful that he could not reply. So what he used to do, that when she was taking some lessons from my uncle, Ustad Zahiruddin Nagar Sahib, so he used to put the scales a little higher. So she used to struggle in that. So if she was in like F sharp or somewhere, so he would put in G sharp or A, where she was struggling, and then they used to make some promise that oh, okay, I will not tease in front of Ustad or Moinuddin Hasan. So then there used to be every time there was an agreement, but she would never stop teasing him, and he would never stop increasing the scales for him. So this is the next generation, and with me also she was always giving a lot of blessings, and so it's जिंदगी एक हादसा है और ऐसा हादसा है. जिंदगी एक हादसा है और ऐसा हादसा, मौत से भी जिसका सिलसिला खत्म होता नहीं. So you don't stop. If you are born, so your energies will be spoken about and will be talked about. So rags are individual personality. So what my uncle had sung in this Dheere Bahu, Nadiya Dheere Bahu. But in another one he has sung Rag Uriya, Parvati Nath Shiv. So I will sing the composition of Parvati Nath Shiv, Shambhu Mahadev Jagi. But we have the Alap, it's very sort of longer Alap. We always have longer our Alaps, and we always say Om Anantatam. Om Anantatam Taranatharnitam. Om is the base. Om Anantatam. Oh God, I am in endless darkness. Anantatam Taranatharnitam. You please help me to get rid of this darkness. Hari Om Narayan, Ananta Hari Om Narayan. So when you hear Ri, Ra, 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 so it is in our imagination, it is Hari these things we take in as slavers. And then we communicate with the individual personality, because rag is not merely a structure of notes in ascending and descending order. Rag is an individual personality with whom we communicate. And rag gives to all different genres of Indian classical music. So that everybody is singing and everybody is performing. No, I did all the sections but very softly because these things can be very vibrant also and very loud also. So I'm just keeping this. I'm giving a full recital. I'm not because she was a complete person, so I'm just giving that. So I will just get into some other aspect of compositions also. So same note. This was composed by my uncle, Jasleen Dhamija, a composition by Mirabai. First I will do it without the bakhaut for a little while, then I will get into it. Darshan dene aayo pyare, tum bin raha na jaye. Darshan deno aaye pyare.
सजनी
when it was composed, he had done it. In the green room there was so much of tears. It was after my father's death he had composed this. Because they used to sing together and we are all together here. Sorry, I have to sit like this only for a little more. अब ठीक है, एक गायत्री मंत्र पढ़ लो and we'll finish because when things get too heavy also it's difficult to bear. So. There.
Say no more. I think there's no better way to go. Be free to go to more erotic lands. Sent off by Vasubai. Thank you, Vasubai, for granting her request.
The best appreciation is to be without a clap also. So that's,
And, yeah.
when you don't know what to do after the performance, that's the best applause for me.
Gratitude is the best applause, right?
But it is for Auntie Jasleen ji. So it was. She made me remember my father and all. Because it took me in the middle of that. I went along with them. So she was so much part of this family.
She does these things. She does these things. She does these things. So yeah, there's drinks and there's snacks there. There's a few posters there with photograph paints. Anybody who feels like writing, please do. And we can chat outside. And it's right at the main veranda. Yeah, and Pablo disparaging comments with compassion. Feel free to write whatever you like. Thank you for coming, thank you for being here, and thank you for being in our life. Not mine.
Oh yeah, no.
हाँ ये फोन कर रहा हूँ